Super Gifted, page 11. Then Beatrice would growl him away, which was one good thing about that dumb Chow Chow sleeping in my room. Despite the fact that Beatrice was Brad's dog, his list of grievances against him was almost as long as my own. First, he disappeared on her to go to Afghanistan. Then, when he finally came home, she wasn't even allowed in his room, since that's where baby Tina's crib was. The fact that Beatrice liked me better than her actual owner was another item on that long list of things about me that got on Brad's nerves. Like it's my fault the hairball chose to shut on after you after Brad kicked her out of your room, I complained to Katie. Of course it isn't. For once my sister agreed with me. We're grateful for all your help with Beatrice, and Candy too. But deep down, Brad's heartbroken that he'd lost the love he used to count on, and he can't help noticing who it's been transferred to. She looked at me pointedly. The dog only loves me because I let him take over my room. I'm their pansy more than anything else. Give me a break, Donnie. I haven't slept more than 40 minutes in a stretch since we brought Tina home from the hospital. I wasn't getting much sleep myself when I inherited Beatrice. I got stuck with Candy by default. You could ignore Beatrice, but Candy was even younger than the baby. He was restless and hungry, and his new puppy teeth were just coming in, which made him whiny and irritable. His bow-wow bone helped a little. It was a bright purple chew toy in the shape of a miniature dumbbell. I literally saw that thing in my sleep. It glowed in the dark. Worse, it squeaked, a piercing high-pitched sound that felt like a piece of dental floss that had been inserted in one of my ears and pulled out the other. My theory, Candy thought I was his mother. He was definitely dumb enough, and he needed a mom because his own, Beatrice, wasn't very motherly. He followed me around like a bad smell. Whenever I sat still, he snuggled up next to me. Even my scent seemed to be a comfort to him. Never once did I enter my room without finding him trying to insert himself, drooling all the way, into one of my sneakers. Every night when I got into bed, he gazed at me imploringly. His big liquid eyes practically spoke, "Please let me up there with you." He was so pathetic I was almost tempted to give in. Let's face it, Candy was about as toilet trained as Tina. I wasn't that much of a sucker. I tried to paper train him. I spread out some newspapers, but all that taught him was how much he preferred peeing on the carpet. The world was his toilet, and my room was his world. He was named after the Afghan city where Brad was deployed. He was half Chow Chow, but we never met the dad. Great Dane maybe, or possibly Sasquatch. If he ever grew up around those giant paws, he was going to crowd the rest of us out of the house. Maybe he'd mature into a majestic creature one day. For now, he was just plain funny-looking, and so ungainly that all I heard half the night was scrumble, scramble, whump, scrumble, scramble, whump, as he explored the room and his enormous feet kept tripping him up. He had to be the homeliest, clumsiest, most infuriating mini-mutt in the face of the earth. I loved him, though. Only God knew why. Maybe because he kind of needed me. Katie and Brad were new parents, and they had no time for him. Besides, there was something in that scramble, scramble whomp that reminded me of myself. In those urgent, gung-ho steps, you could tell Candy thought he had it all figured out. Then whomp, he fell flat on his face. That was me. I was always getting in trouble for acting without considering the consequences. It was my fatal flaw. The Daniels called it fallout blindness. That was my special connection to Candy. Tina had a lot more aunts and uncles than your average baby. Unofficial ones, anyways. The entire Academy robotics team shared that honor. Katie gotten into the labor in the middle of the state meet, and the team had ended up in the waiting room at the hospital while Tina was born. Chloe and Noah visited most often. Noah was obsessed with Tina, the way that he was obsessed with, in this order: YouTube, writing computer code, professional wrestling, and being average. Being obsessed is just what Noah did. Noah was different when he was with Tina. He held her a little stiffly, like she was a prehistoric fossil that might turn to dust if he handled too roughly. He didn't coo at her and talk baby. Instead, he recited scientific facts and formulas like, "A floating object displaces its own weight in liquid," Or, the square of the hypotenuse of a right-angled triangle is equal to the sum of the squares of the other two sides. For some reason, this brought out some of Tina's best toothless smiles. When she learns to talk, her first words are going to be E equals MC minus 2, predicted Sanderson. The 2 means squared, Einstein, Nussbaum corrected him. The Daniels got a kick out of Noah. They got a kick out of everything. Some of the stuff I did had them rolling on the floor. Those two could make it through the end of the world so long as they had enough to laugh at. With Noah around, they'd never run short of material. Lately, though, the Daniels had been getting around with Noah. It was one thing to be entertained by him. It was quite another when he made them look as bad in front of the girls. Like when Noah accidentally flashed his glasses down the toilet. Sanderson had been using the stall next door. Noel told everyone who would listen to him how lucky he was that my moment of crisis coincided with my friend Daniel's bowel movement. Or the time at lunch when he sneezed all over the girl Nussbaum was trying to sweet talk and then fumbled his asthma inhaler into her soup while she scrambled to get herself cleaned up. Noah delivered a detailed scientific lecture on the strains of bacteria commonly found in human mucus. I like inhaler soup as much as the next guy, Nussbaum said angrily, but not when it interferes with my love life. You don't have a love life, Noah pointed out helpfully. Nussbaum was better, thanks to you. For all his brains, Noah didn't pick up on their anger and impatience. He thought it was fitting and perfectly, and this what was regular school was like. Glasses down the toilet, inhalers in the soup. And that was how it was going until the day after the fire alarm went off. The siren interrupted a social studies quiz, so it got a big cheer. We assumed it was a drill until we got out of the room to find the corridor filled with smoke. At that point, all our orderly filing turned into a mad scramble for the exit. My first whiff of the fumes nearly put me flat on the floor. It was rancid and spicy sweet at the same time. What was on fire? The dumpster outside the cafeteria? I was psyched. A nice unscheduled break from my class. And a little chaos besides. Chaos was my specialty. It was usually pretty entertaining. A flying figure came racing at me, knocking me into a bank of lockers. It was Sanderson, checking and gagging. Nussbaum was at his side, breathing into a paper towel. I quit, Sanderson shouted over the clamor of the alarm. It's a lost cause. What's going on? I demanded. Where's the smoke coming from? Like you don't know, Nussbaum rasped. I don't know. And at that moment, an unmistakable voice cried, That's not just a souffle. It's the next generation data analysis. The home and careers room emptied out in a flash. Noah in the lead. His white apron was black with soot, and his face hasn't flared much better. His glasses were askew with one temple tangled in his hairnet as he ran down the hall, followed by an angry mob of classmates. He slipped behind the three of us as his pursuers lost him in the smoke and thundered out the nearest exit. It looked like the fun was ending already. Geez, Noah, what'd you do? Oh, Noah said, as if surprised at being asked. My program can sift through thousands of tetrabytes of information. Nussbaum was furious. That's not tetrabytes. I smell it's sewer gas. I devised an artificially intelligence program to scan every recipe on the internet to make a souffle no one's ever made before. I wonder why, Ragerson ragged. Because it explodes, maybe? It didn't explode, said Noah with dignity. It just is on fire. And, he added detectively, it fell. Nussbaum faced me. Sorry, Donovan, but you're on your own from now on. Yesterday, somebody wrote loser on my locker in whiteout. It means I'm getting blamed for him. That's totally unfair, Noah complained. I have a C average. Sanderson addressed Noah. Sorry, kid. It's nothing personal. You were okay at the Academy for Scholastic Dorkistiction, but around here you're a drag on our image. We can't help you anymore. They headed out the door, bringing up the rear Noah's cooking class. Noah seemed bewildered. What's that supposed to mean? I don't need help. I'm doing amazing. Do you realize how much room for improvement that leaves? A platoon of uninformed firefighters swarmed past us in the direction of the home and careers room. I sighed. I'll give you that, Noah. That's definitely room for improvement. Noah glowed.